Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks for attending one more Radix Talk Plus. Today, our panel will address one of the main challenges that organizations around the world are facing, the alignment of digital and business strategies. We all know that digital technologies are fundamentally changing what is possible to do in so many different dimensions. And at the same time, it's inspiring business in every company, every industry to do things differently and better. Possibilities are huge, and also the changes are happening really, really fast and everywhere in society, industry, competition, regulations in the markets, and several other areas. And then we need to have the right strategies to thrive in this scenario. And we know that strategy starts with asking the right questions. Starting by defining what we want to accomplish is very, very important. It sets the directions of the organization. And once the direction is set, the next question that comes to the table is how. How to get there. How to choose among several paths to follow. How to fit people, processes, technologies all together towards the same goal. And this situation becomes much more interesting when you are part of a global corporation dealing with one of the most challenging segments in manufacturing and having production sites, a diversified supply chain, and several customers spread all over the globe. So many scenarios, so many different infrastructures, so many different cultures, so many things to deal with at the same time. So today, we are really proud to have our special guests here with us, all of them with leading roles in the organizations, and they will share their journey and how they are looking for the best answers for these questions. I'm going to start with a round of introductions, and they will give their opening statements. Then we are going to jump for the panel questions. And finally, we're going to have a Q&A session. So the audience can enter questions and comments in the chat, and hopefully we will have time to respond all of them. So I would like to start introducing Eric Israel. Eric is a global marketing director of Oilfield chemicals at ChampionX, a brand new company born from the merge of now Champion Upstream and Apergy. With over 25 years of experience in the oil and gas industry, Eric is a system engineer by degree and has worked in the oilfield chemicals industry for his entire career, holding various positions as field support rep, country manager, and roles in operations, marketing, and digital solutions leadership. Welcome, Eric. Great to have you here with us.
Good morning, Flávio, and thank you very much for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity to bring my perspective to the discussion on digital and change in general in the chemical industry. My area of expertise is more oil and gas, but I'm really keen on having that discussion. This is very interesting time for the oil and gas, right? We face very significant challenges to continue to drive and thrive into this industry, particularly when you consider the last two downturns that have been happening literally back to back. That compared with COVID is really creating a very interesting situation. And as a result of that, we've seen more changes happening in our organization in the last 5 to 7 years that I did all the years prior to that. Yes, in deep water, we went deeper and we had more subsea tiebacks and longer subsea tiebacks. And yes, we went into now starting to produce reservoirs in North America that were, before that, not commercially viable. So technology has progressed. But what's been happening is today, we need more changes in how we operate. Our customers are demanding significant more changes to rethink, all the way to rethinking their operations and how they actually run today, to be able to be more leaner, efficient. And this is not just about small orders of magnitude. some conversation we're having for customers, they are looking at really significant step changes. So the question now is how do we do that? How we take those years of experience that we have as an organization, and how do we bring all that knowledge and help customers think about how do we change operating models? And that requires that we really look at how do we provide information, relevant information, but also timely information to be able to enable decision making. And this is where I think digital and IT really play a bigger role, in my opinion. To me, whether it's helping our customer or redefining our own operating model to better serve our customer, I think we have an opportunity to really help with that message. When you consider the democratization of information technologies as well, and the constant drop in cost, I remember a time where Excel actually helped redefine how we operate in a lot of areas. And today I see Power BI doing the same thing. That shows that we need to have a more concerted discussion on how do we leverage technology and the fact it's becoming more available to really be able to help our customers. So I really look forward to that conversation, and how do we drive change is going to be so critical.
Thank you very much, Eric. So the change itself is a challenge, but the speed that is needed today, it's increasing the size of the challenge that we are facing right now. Thank you very much. So our next guest is Jane Arnold. Jane is head of global process control technology at Covestro, and she is responsible for all digitalization in manufacturing at over 30 production sites globally. Jane has spent her nearly 30-year career bringing the value of control, automation, and the digitalization to the forefront of chemical production. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you very much, Flavio. And like Eric, I'm really happy to join today. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion, and I hope to give as much as I receive. But as Flavio mentioned, I've worked the bulk of my career in automation, and I really learned to have a strong appreciation for those people with their hands closest to the process. And my goal throughout my career has always been to improve operations and to make their lives easier. So when I started my career in the early 90s, that was actually when we were migrating panel board instrumentation to what we now consider legacy DCS control. And after we did the site-wide installation of Fisher ProBox, then it was like, okay, we have these sophisticated computers. What are we going to do with them? So I started spending time with operations to figure out how could I use my affinity for technology and programming skills to actually make their lives easier. And those years I spent in the control room were really, the fondest of my career. But that base gave me a great start to my career because I learned early on that I had to justify everything I was doing, and not only the improvement to operations, which they appreciated, but how did those changes affect costs and efficiency? And I started to think in terms of ROI, even if it was just about my time and effort and there was no external spend. But, back then, anything we could do to save greenhouse gases or energy was always beneficial, and it was easy to calculate the return on the investment of my time. So my goal back in the mid to late 90s was to achieve a $2 million sustainable savings in control improvements and each year. And I was able to achieve that goal, and each year achieve that goal in additional improvements. And so it made me really excited about how you bring in the business aspect and the technology together to make improvements. So my current ambition is a little bit higher than the 2 million a year goal that I had before, but we're working at Covestro to reduce the amount of unplanned outages using digitalization. And if we just look at 2019 EBITDA, and we reduced unplanned outages by about 50%, then we expect to increase throughput by about 60 million euro annually. So that's our current goal. And with technology today, it is possible. And for us, it is in progress.
Thank you very much, Jane. So I like when you mentioned the time you spent in the control rooms, because I also have a process control background. And I completely agree with you. That's really a great time, especially now that this interaction and all this change with all the different teams in the organization, it's really needed. In a control room, the dynamic, it's really fast. So you could be the hero or the villain in a matter of minutes working with the operators there.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
It's a great experience that we bring today for the situation that we are facing right now. That's a lot of change management, a lot of a culture change is needed to bring the most of the technologies that are in place. So thank you very much. Really great to have you together with us today. So last but not least, I would like to introduce Stephen Reynolds. Stephen is the industry principal for chemicals at OSIsoft. He's a graduate from Texas A&M, chemical engineer with operations experience for a variety of processes. So in 20 years, he had roles and responsibilities increased from unit engineer to operations manager. His final industry role, Stephen was corporate lead for operations excellence and continuous improvement. He transitioned his career to OSIsoft, where his main focus is on connecting the dots between operation needs of customers and the transformational power of data. Welcome, Stephen.
Flávio, thank you for having me. You mentioned just a second ago that sometimes you're the hero, sometimes you're the villain, and I can definitely relate to that. And as a young engineer starting my career, I went straight into operations as the unit engineer, and I can remember a supervisor getting on to me one time for watching my computer screen and trying to manage the process from my office. And he basically encouraged me to get down to the control room, and I learned that lesson early and practice it often. We talk about unit engineer, tech manager, ops manager, continuous improvement. At the end of the day, I'm a spreadsheet guy, and I worked numbers and understanding what decisions need to be made and how the use of data can impact those. And digital transformation just became that natural next step. So in operational excellence, we want to normalize operations, we want to optimize, and then we want to evolve and improve. And digital transformation is that next technological step for us. And I look forward to sharing my experiences and helping our customers do that for themselves. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thanks, Stephen. Thank you for joining us today. So we're going now to jump to the panel session where I will shoot some questions to our guests. And I would like to start with Jane. So Jane, as I said earlier, we know that digital technologies are changing what is possible to do. And at the same time, they are inspiring new ways to collaborate and accomplish the goals. So in a global company like Covestro, how is digital transformation being designed to align with the business strategies? And I would like also to add one more question, if you could address, regarding legacy systems. There were millions of dollars invested in digital systems in the past. How is Covestro facing the challenge to either migrate or integrate the legacy systems in a global scale to keep supporting the business strategy?
Okay. So when we look at Covestro, they actually began their digital transformation journey in 2017. And that was about the same time that I started this position is when the board made the announcement. And at the time, I remember thinking that announcement was unnecessary because working in process control, we've been digital for 30 years. But then as I joined the effort and started to see everything that was happening around the company, I mean, we're really looking at how can we best utilize technology to improve every aspect of our business. You mentioned collaboration, especially with COVID. That's actually been quite valuable for us, and we made some immediate improvements with IT to improve our collaboration space, which is going very well. And so I'm actually on part of the the digital governance body for Covestro. And it's really interesting for me because you represent all different aspects of the business, where I represent manufacturing of products. But we meet monthly and discuss where's the money going to be spent. And we discuss the business case behind the aspects. And I now have this whole company view of where the efforts are being made and what we're pushing. And so I understand now that term digital transformation, because it's not just about, you know, the signal and the transmitter getting to the legacy DCS, but really about how do we holistically look at all of this data and capture the best of it so we can make the right decisions. So when we look at the legacy systems, we do at Covestro have a significant investment in the legacy DCS, SIS systems. And we're probably following the same strategy that many other industry companies are doing, is that we're upgrading and migrating based on obsolescence. So once the product is no longer being supported, then we have already got a migration plan in place to do that. But with the fast acceleration of technology in the industry, we don't want to wait for the DCS to be upgraded. We want to take advantage of what's there now. So we're doing a lot of work with edge computing on our large machines in order to do AI and machine learning prediction on performance. We are migrating to the cloud in order to collaborate and have more scalability or faster scalability as well. And we're, of course, doing maintaining data security and accessibility. And on top of the DCS, we have our data historian, which happens to be OSIsoft Pi, and we're doing all sorts of self-service analytics, machine learning, and AI that we're actually using in production to make these improvements. So even though we have legacy DCS in most of our installations, it's not stopping us. We are fast moving forward and taking advantage of the technology on the market. And as what we have becomes obsolete, we'll upgrade and take advantage of whatever is available.
Thank you very much, Jane. I do agree that there's a lot have been done in the past. So we really need to maximize and leverage all these investments that have been done today. So I understand that this integration, it's really key for the success in order to have, as you mentioned before, to have the ROI on the investments. So what I can do more with the technologies available today with the assets that I currently have in my installations. Thank you. So now, Eric. So most leaders rely on our organization structure to implement strategy. But the companies now, they need to be redesigned to become digital, needed to change and synchronize people, process, data, and technologies. So how is ChampionX, as a brand new company, defining the business strategy? And how, especially you, how are you taking advantage of having this kind of I would say a big whiteboard in front of you in order to redesign the strategies? Tell us a bit about your experience now.
Let me talk real quick about digital transformation, right? Because you make an assumption when you say company needs to be redesigned to become digital. You have to have a compelling event to do that, and I think digital transformation it's in part about technology, but technology is more the tip hand of the spear, right? The fundamental of transformation is really about making sure that you understand how your world and your industry, your environment, your customer are changing, and you have to redesign your business processes, your commercial models, and how to best serve the industry. And you want to leverage information technology as a tool to be able to go do that. So to me, it's each company needs to realize that, is what they're doing today still viable and still going to be sustainable in this new world? And this is where each company needs to go ask itself, am I still relevant today? To me, I think, you're absolutely right. There's no better time today to have this conversation for us specifically, right? Because when you look at the new ChampionX, it's a fantastic organization. I'll tell you just more in a minute. But when you consider what's happening in industry, and you bring together two companies that have a lot of domain expertise into very complementary areas, you have an opportunity. Each one of those companies has been very successful in its own regard and brings years, tens of years of experience in Oilfield, and they also have a significant amount of digital experience in that space, right? So if you think about Apogee, legacy Apogee, and you think about compressor management with Windrock, or if you look at artificial lift with the Theta brand and the Xbox wildcards, right? Now you have chemical technology with field inventory and service management platform. You have a lot of different tools that serve the purpose of the organization. And I've been, brought up to bear to be able to really help change how we work with the customers in the field. So if you consider now you have the challenge of this industry that's really trying to redefine itself, and you have a brand new organization with different skills and different competencies, experience and digital, how do you bring it together? And this is today really the question we're asking ourselves, because we're not siloed because we just came together, but you have pocket of excellence. When I was a field rep 25 years ago, and I was on the platform in the control room as well, I remember those years. I used to go to the operator and I used to ask him for the well data that I could input on my spreadsheet so that I could look at my chemical program and define whether the chemical program was still doing the right things, right? So it was a very manual process. And while we tried to automate it, I was not going to connect my Excel file to a SCADA system. So it was very, very manual. Today, well, guess what? With this new company, I have all the data I need to be able to make those decisions every day. How do I do it in a way that is absolutely seamless, very efficient, and provide that information that our customers can use to make decisions? And in some cases, like Jen mentioned, actually use tools that are available to me, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, to actually help speed up the decision-making process. So the question is, how do we do this? And our company is brand new. I mean, we're talking about a few months old, and we're actually going through the process of defining how do we actually bring those go together to be able to go do that. The key things, though, that we've identified is that at the end of the day, digital transformation is really about changing the way an organization works. So it starts with strong vision, and you have to have leadership and organizational commitment to that vision. This is very much a top-down approach, in my opinion, because the level of change that's required, as you mentioned earlier, and the speed of change require that you really balance expectation at the top level with goals and objectives at the bottom. So that's a critical component. The second thing is you got to bring a very collaborative approach, right? You have to understand what your new company means to your customers, and really, I mean, do they value the fact that you can connect some gas lift data with the chemical data and give them better answers faster? Leveraging information has to have relevance for your customer, and you have to be able to engage them in that conversation. So it's not us just creating product. We think it's really cool and our customer are going to love it. It's actually engaging our customer just as much as our internal stakeholders to be able to create, the concept of co-creation, what value is important to them, right? And with that, on the technology side, finding the right industry partners to be able to partner with, make sure that you bring all the perspective of the fast speed of technology. So collaboration is a critical component. Then you need to build the best technology team you can, right? I mean, it's going fast. It's going, 10 years ago, who was talking about cloud architecture? And today, it's the only thing that if you're not cloud architecture, you cannot participate in any sort of business. It's a requirement in our business that you are able to do that, right? How do you balance building the right team that's really going to help keep up with the pace of technology, and also allow you to deliver the solution at the most, cost-effective point, because it's about balancing, building in versus external. And what I like about external partners is it's sort of bringing the best this industry is doing, because usually partners work with different companies with different technologies and have a broader view of what's happening in the industry. So building the best technology team that really balances internal versus external. The last one, I would say, finally, it's really commitment to change. Transformation is about changing the way organizations work, right? And companies that have been very successful doing what they've done for a very long time struggle sometimes to see why the need for change. So particularly in the oil and gas, that's been an industry that's really been based on experience. It's been something very interesting to watch, and our customers have understood that, and they have created a lot more a lot more emphasis on change, and how do you manage that, right? And for us, it's very important because it's also about understanding how do we really change the way we work, but also how do we become a destination for talent? In this gig economy, I think that's a coin term now, where you see people changing, supposedly 8 to 10 times careers in their professional lives. You wonder, how do you create that nucleus of people that really bring sustainability to how you do this? So commitment to change is first acknowledging you need to change, but also attract the people that are willing to be part of that change. So for us, commitment to change, building the best technology team we can, collaboration, and starts with a very, very strong vision of who you want to be. I think that's the journey we are on today, and it's an exciting one. It will take time for us to really define how this is going to work. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Eric. No, you address very important points. I do agree with you with mainly these 4 points: the vision, collaboration, to have kind of a really strong technology team, and this commitment to change. I would say that among the 4 of them, the change, I would say it's the most challenging one, because sometimes it's it's part of human nature to resist to change. And
I agree, Flávio. I think technology, I won't say technology is easy, because it's not. Building technology is not complicated, but having the right technology strategy is complex. But I agree with you. What's going to make or break is that strong vision and the commitment to change.
Yeah. And this, because today I see that even the strategy should evolve. So strategies today should not set into stone. They must be flexible and adaptive. So I would say that is one of the skills that especially leaders should develop in themselves and also in their teams, is this capability to be comfortable outside of the comfort zone. Yeah. So you need to think, to understand, to assess the data, extract the information, the good information from the data that you have, and then assess the situation and take the decision. So it's a lot of skills and capabilities that should be developed today.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. So next question I'll address to Stephen. So Stephen, you are a principal in one of the major industrial technology companies in the world, supporting one of the most complex industries globally also. So regarding your experience along the years, and also you were the hat on the operations side, and now you wear the hat of the technology side. What are the common pitfalls that one should avoid when designing the strategies? And I was talking to Eric about this this human factor. No, we know that the technologies really rely on people. Yeah. So how do you see that the human factor impact the adoption of digital technologies to leverage the business? How you and OSIsoft are dealing with this challenge to support your customers?
Okay. Well, I think Eric did a great job of addressing, the design of your transformation, right? The technology. I think he said it's the tip of the spear. As engineers, we're always very attracted to the shiny ball, and we like to chase the newest toys and get the best gadgets, and this is going to solve the world, and we spend thousands, if not more, dollars on the latest stuff. And very often we're a solution looking for a problem. So as Eric mentioned, you have to have that upfront vision and being able to identify where you're wanting to go. And then the next phase of that is really, why do you want to go there? And I think very often that alignment across the organization between the people creating the vision and the people who have to engage and enact and carry the vision forward can get disconnected, because we don't always communicate why, or we don't. The inevitable question is, what's in it for me? And so the need for change has to be communicated to the people who are doing the work in ways that they understand and can relate to. And I think sometimes that's a huge disconnect. technology, as Eric said, is not the solution. It is a tool that enables the solution. And some of our leaps ahead in technology, very often we think, oh, well, that'll solve that. And how it came into being, oh, that's a corporate gadget, I don't have to pay attention to that at the plant, or that's not going to work, I'm not good. It's self-fulfilling prophecy. That's not going to work. And by saying that, we act on that, and we disable its power, and it gets shelved, and those tools don't work. From personal experience, as working in operating discipline and encouraging operations teams, we develop operator rounds, right? So we want them to have eyes on the process, look for unusual activities, process conditions and things like that. Well, we had a plant that had never really had organized rounds, so we went from no structured rounds to a handheld device that then I helped design, our supervisors helped design, we had management involvement, and we defined this elaborate round that probably took twice as long as it needed to, and it just got abandoned because it was so clunky and terrible. And so our whole transformation got pinned on this one handheld device, and really dropped us back several months, if not a year, in being able to improve our scenario. So it's leaning on technology without having a clear understanding of what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it, I think, is one huge pitfall that we have. Recognize that it's a process, and I think, especially with digital transformation, we don't have to get it right the first time. I suffer from this a lot personally. Analysis paralysis, right? We have to get it to that nth degree, and we all talk about Six Sigma and getting all to the final decimal place, but shoot, is 80% good enough? Do we get the bulk of our value from the initial effort of just defining it, why we want to do things? So I think one of our customers coined this phrase for me, but start simply, but simply start. Find those initiatives that make sense and add quick value. We test the process, we test our ability to change, sell people on our ability to complete the change. I think a lot of our change aversion comes from failed initiatives. Certainly from a top-down driven efforts, management comes in and says, we're going to do this, and it doesn't sustain, and they move on, and the plant's left holding the bag, and then they come in with the next initiative, and we get that change baggage where the plant just waits us out because we've not been successful in other initiatives. And so I think building that momentum, building that credibility of the technologies and the ideas that we're wanting to have is another strategy to avoid some of these pitfalls.
Yeah, and I see that this because you mentioned that it's a process, yeah, and in this process, I see that today we have to kind of break this. I would say that stigma of failure. Yeah, we see a lot of in this kind of a digital transformation that people saying that, okay, it's okay to fail, but please fail fast and do not waste a lot of money. So that in this process, so I see that there is a lot of planning, and as you said, it is really important, understanding the business goals. So the digital transformation will be the way to get there. Yeah.
For sure. And I another phrase that I heard that I enjoyed was think big, fail small. So bite off what you can chew. So like you say, the risk of failure is not so big at the start that you can't overcome it.
Yeah.
And you can test your theories and test the technology in a nice, not safe space, but a less risky space.
Yep. Yeah, and in this experience, as you said, so I see that a really important component, and even in this collaboration aspect that you guys brought, is the trust. Yeah. So you need to build this trust among the different teams in order to progress together. Yeah, so all this being close, as you said, being close to as an engineer, being close to operations, and also being close with management. So all this, see that this communication among the teams play a major role.
Yeah, and in my job today, and in the company I work for, we with our customers, the most successful changes have come from that partnership. Very often, if we're dealing strictly with IT and just installing the software and getting the infrastructure built up, it becomes an IT project, and it's not really embraced by operations. Or IT doesn't have the bandwidth to do it, so they hire a partner to go do the work, and then the beneficiaries of that work don't really embrace it because it came from some outside consultant. And so the best and most successful initiatives have been that teamwork aspect of technology provider, service provider, in-house IT support, and in-house subject matter expertise, building that cohesive initiative. And I think that's a huge pattern for success.
Yeah. Now we see that with all this digital transformation, that finally IT and OT must to get married. Yeah. So stop pointing fingers. And so guys, now we are in the same boat. So we are here together towards the goals the goals that the business strategy has set for all over the organization. Yeah. So finally, we are seeing that this collaboration increasing, especially between IT and OT teams.
Yes, very much.
Thank you very much, Stephen. So I see our chat here. So we have read some questions. And so I do thanks the participation of the audience. So we're going to jump now for the Q&A session of our panel. And I have a first question here. So how is the chemical industry defining its digital strategy? So who would like to take this one?
So, I mean, I can start. I can tell you what Covestro is doing.
Okay, Jane, go ahead.
Yeah, it's my impression that overall the chemical industry is lagging a little bit on actually embracing digital transformation, but at Covestro, we're all the way in, so we're full force. And really what we've done is tried to take a pragmatic approach, and I'm only referring to manufacturing now, looking at what's our goal, which is reduce greenhouse gases, improve energy efficiency, increase on-stream time. And what do we have? We have DCS, safety systems, we have PI. Well, what's missing in the middle? There's an awful lot of stuff that's missing in the middle. And we start to say, okay, where are my gaps and how do I fill those gaps and really work to improve that ultimate goal of improving on-stream time, which improves safety and environmental and all that along with it. And so that's the approach that Covestro is taking, is really starting at the outside, where do we want to be? And then figuring out how do we get there and actually having that roadmap.
Thanks, Jane.
And I think from what I've seen talking to a variety of folks is, it is very company specific digital transformation. We don't have I don't know that we've had a coherent industry shift, because everyone has their own key drivers and their own need for change. And I think that's what's really, you have to identify for yourself. And I think governments and agencies will help define that as we move into higher regulatory environments. Safety is always very critical, but again, the increasing cost pressures of today, the pandemic response, our new embrace of remote workforces, I think those will all drive digital transformation in ways we haven't really even thought of yet.
So from a Oilfield standpoint, I would say, it's actually a two-phase approach. We're looking at both. To Jane's point, is how do we actually redesign ourselves? How do we restructure ourselves to be able to be more responsive, more nimble? But it starts with the customer, right? So customers is really at the heart of everything we do, and understanding how they're actually changing. And it's been very interesting to watch how different customers have taken very different approaches to digital and digital transformation, and start to bring that back into our own organization to say what new product do we need to develop, but how do we need to change ourselves to be able to really address the challenges that they are throwing at us today. So it's really about starting with the customer as the center of everything, and then think from the two fronts: new products as well as rethinking how we are designing ourselves. When you look at the new generations, how do you just want to become a company that people want to come and work for. They don't want to be able to go out to the field and spend 3 hours driving to get to the wellhead to figure out that the tank is full, and then all they have to do is just turn back and come home. You're not going to keep people doing these sort of things, right? So both customers, what they need, as well as understanding how do we need to change to be able to be part of that transformation.
Yeah, this the things how you're going to position yourself and use the technology in order to attract the new workforce is also a challenge that all organizations are facing. Yeah, not only attract, but as you mentioned, retain. Yeah, sometimes they are kind of, we see that the young engineers are looking for challenges all the time, looking for learning new things all the time. So this I see that should be part of the strategy. In order to have the best team, as you mentioned, so you're going to have the best technology team. So how are you going to attract these people to and stay and retain them in the company? You were saying, Eric?
I was saying, oilfield services in general is a knowledge business. Yeah, we have tools. Yes, we have, shiny objects. I like that comment, Stephen. We love technology, but we are, it's a knowledge business. I'm not talking about just chemicals. I'm talking about oilfield services in general. So in the past, people that were extremely valuable were 20, 25-year veteran with the company. Right? Today, you have to bring somebody in a company, bring them up to speed, and make them capable in a very short amount of time, and you want to be able to leverage that. So it's part of that conversation.
Yeah. We were having another day a discussion internally, and how, for instance, how a solution like predictive maintenance will help the knowledge transfer within an organization. Because you're going to kind of take all this knowledge of the people that have been working there for 25, 35, 40 years, and they will put in a kind of an algorithm, and that will support the young engineers that are coming to the organizations to understand better what is happening there. So this is also part of kind of a knowledge transfer between, I would say, the generations of engineers in an organization. Yeah.
And there's a high sense of urgency here because of the big crew change happening in the oil and gas.
Yeah. Yeah. As we said before, all these processes are happening really, really, really fast. So since Stephen mentioned the pandemic, we have a question here from Zach. How do you think COVID-19 has altered the courses of industrial digitalization efforts? Has it accelerated, hindered? Any advice for keeping up the momentum?
Well, since I introduced that topic, I'll take a first stab at it. I think it's introduced a need for change. So for folks that have not really begun their digital transformation journeys, having to contend with remote and limited workforces, now they have to address that. How do we enable that technology? So I think that's been a key driver. And with that becomes an opportunity. So people are able to, they may have the time to look at their digital, their transformation strategy and prioritize, really design that cohesive vision, because we're at home, or we're taking a more paced look at things. I think Jane mentioned earlier that they've seen some improvements at the plant because maybe they don't have as many people there to begin with, and also they have more patience. And so I think that's been an opportunity for us.
Thanks, Stephen. So I have another question here that I would like, if possible, for both Jane and Eric to address. So how do you see the, especially because the kind of all of you are dealing with, are embedded in global organizations. So the question is, how do you see the importance of communication in a corporation regarding the alignment of the digital and business strategies? How do you execute it? So the communication, how you guys are handling this? And thanks, Derek, for the question.
Want me to start this time? Well, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll start. You know, we work wherever there's an oil field in the world. We work. I started my career in Angola. I can't tell you how many countries I made going around the world. Manage everything from Singapore all the way to Latin America. So, you know, as an organization, as an industry, I don't think we communicate enough. And if you think you're communicating enough, you're already fooling yourself, right? And when you think you've communicated enough, you need to communicate some more. So there's never really an end. But I think in this time and age where technology is available, collaboration becomes absolutely critical. And I think as Stephen made the point earlier, when he said, you know, you have to be careful, because in the good old way of doing things and without the technology, it used to be a digital project, or it used to be an IT project, or it used to be an RD&E project, where now we have to be absolutely bringing people together at all times so that it is an enterprise project. It's no longer someone's pet project. And we found that challenge when we start deploying digital, where people in the field reporting to very different line of sight had the very different incentives and had different way to look at their priorities, not connected with the rest of the organization, and you create chaos. And those projects become, hey, I'm a digital project and therefore I don't want to go do it. So collaboration, to me, it's not just communication. Collaboration is really the right communication, the meaningful communication that delivers results. And what I found out is that has changed the way I communicate today. Is in the past it was more about information. Now it needs to drive decisions. And you have to have the right group of people that really drive them across the entire organization. HR has always been sort of a stepchild sitting on the side, right? Today, they need an integrated part of what we do, because if we don't start looking at the kind of people we hire, how do we know that we're going to continue to drive that digital agenda? So to me, collaboration has become, and collaboration, and I use communication, but I would say collaboration has become a really, really key requirement of how organizations need to operate going forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead.
So I agree with what you're saying, Eric. And actually, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this topic because, you know, early in my career, let's say the first half of my career, it was really these one-on-one relationships that I developed with operators and learning the process and the chemical engineering behind it and actually succeeding. And we succeeded together. And every time, you know, I would go into the control room and say, well, hey, you know, what can we start working on today? And I wanted to learn everything that was wrong. Well, why did you click here? Or I guess then it wasn't click, but why did you do that? And how does that all work? And really building that trustful relationship made a difference in the success of these projects. And so when I look at my new role, because now I'm top management, telling, you know, pushing something down, it's like, how do we do that successfully? So we still need to engage people at the site individually and listen to what they're telling us. And so what we're doing as we roll out our solutions is that we have a digital champion at each site. So at the bigger sites, we have like one champion, so in Baytown and in Caojing. And then at the smaller sites, we might have a country champion. So we have one in Spain. And they are local employees, and they're the face of the solution. And they're going in there in the control rooms, talking to people, showing it. And we do have solutions, and we're managing the library, let's call it globally, but we're trying to make it flexible, you know, to make sure that when we ask someone their opinion, that we're able to actually incorporate it. And this, when they become part of the solution, they are more inclined to use it. So we're building all these gaps and improving collaboration in those ways in order to be successful.
Thank you very much, both Jane and Eric. I do see this role of communication is really, really important. So I have an example at home. So my son has just joined mechanical engineering at UH. So he'll be also a cougar, Jane. And I told him, so I believe that you should take communications as a minor degree, because today in this world today, especially with the experience that we are living right now with all this remote work, so communication is really a key capability that everyone everywhere should master.
Yes, and then also for consideration is when you have global companies, there's so many different cultures. There's different first languages, different cultures, and different understandings when you have an innuendo or something. So it really is a lot of work to really understand what people are saying and to make sure you're communicating properly. So you have to have patience as well, because you can't just do it and move on. You've really got to engage.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay, I would like to thank the audience for so many questions. So there are a lot of questions here, but we are getting closer to the top of the hour. So we needed to jump to the closing remarks. So I'd like to welcome Stephen to start with the closing remarks.
All right, well, we've talked a lot about change. And so I think I will, my closing remark would be, don't underestimate change management in these activities. Understand not only where you want to go, but why you want to get there, and do not be afraid to oversell it. Manage, I guess, the fear of change, and help encourage people and help them understand why the change is important, what's in it for them, and how this change will impact positively or if negatively, and people need to be prepared for that and how that impacts their employment going forward. So prepare and communicate, I think is a great closing remark for me.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Jane?
So for my side, I would just like to follow up on the path about the analysis paralysis. So I think that anything is possible. You just have to figure out how, but you don't need to implement the perfect solution the first time. So I'm good with 80–85%. And most things you do, you're able to reverse from. And so try it out. So that's something that really drove me through my career, is I was like, well, why don't we just try it and see what happens? And this was quite helpful for me and for the projects that we implemented, but it also kind of added some flexibility to what we were doing, and it made it our transformation faster.
Thank you very much, Jane. So, Eric?
I think great closing comments. Fully wholeheartedly agree with the need for change, and Jane, I completely agree with the fact that it is not about, it's about agility, right? It's about being agile and being able to go fast, fail small, and then continue to innovate. That requires some organization, that requires a culture change. Clearly for oil and gas, they have embraced the need for that change, and our customers are engaging us into that conversation today. So I think the opportunity is here. It's about us seizing it and being able to bring all the parts together. That communication and collaboration becomes absolutely critical, both for delivering new products, but also positioning us for future success. At the end of the day, we are a technology company, so we get excited by technology, but we have to find technology that has meaning for our customers. So this is really, for us, it starts with really focusing on customers, and then from there, being able to do what we just talked about today. It does take a village, right? It's not just one person or another person. It takes an organization, and it takes internal and external partners. And part of the reason why I'm here today is because of the collaboration we've had with Radix has been very successful over the years. And that's an example for me of external partnership that works. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you very much, Eric. And thank you especially for the trust built between our companies. I would say that this trust is a major component of a successful relationship. So I'd like to thank you all, Eric, Jane, and Stephen. It was a great honor for us to have you in the Radix Talk Plus. You all addressed really important points, capabilities, and visions, and needed to bring together these strategies and align the what and the how to get there. So I believe that was a really great discussion. So thanks for the audience, for your attendance. Thanks for the questions. And so we're going to have the next Radix Talk Plus. We're going to have one next week. It'll be hosted in Brazil, so it'll be in Portuguese. It'll be about innovation and the digital transformation for the helping the energy sector. And the next Radix Talk, roasted by Radix US, will be in English. We'll address the upstream marketing and talking about the monetization and value of digital transformation. So once again, thank you all for being together with us today. Thanks again for guests of honors, Jane, Eric, and Stephen. And have a great day. Have a great rest of the week. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Flávio.
Bye-bye.